What is up, my friends? Welcome to Rebel and Create's Fatherhood Field Notes podcast, where we hear real stories from real men living real lives. I am your guide, Ned Shout. Fatherhood is not only about being a dad. It incorporates providing and serving a home, loving and serving a spouse, engaging and serving in a community, as well as intentionally serving your kiddos. Fatherhood is an adventure, one full of fun, wild, and definitely messy stories. In this podcast, we will hear stories from real men who have found themselves living the adventure of fatherhood. Man, I am so fired up for you to hear from Mike Crow. Trust me, if you found this episode, your life is going to be changed. There are no words that I can use to help you understand the man that you're about to hear from. Mike Crow is a father, a grandfather, highly successful business owner, and a coach. If you can apply 10% of what you learned today, your life and your legacy will be tremendously impacted. We discuss family meetings, making decisions for your family, giving your kids vision. He goes off on a rant that I love about parents asking their kids what they want way too much in our culture. Get ready to be inspired, and if you are, please share this episode and write a review on iTunes, as my goal is to hit 100 reviews in the next 100 days. Fatherhood is critical, my friends, and you and I are responsible to let the world know. All right, welcome to Rebel and Create's Fatherhood Field Notes. I'm very excited to be having a conversation with Mike Crow. Hi, Mike. How you doing?
I am doing fabulous, my friend.
Yes, thank you so much for being on here. This year, I met Thomas Blackwell, and his book, Liberty of Our Language, has influenced me and my team and my family. And he had said that you are an incredible, very successful business owner, influencer, and an incredible father, and that I should have a conversation with you around fatherhood. So here we are. I'm excited to be able to do that with you.
Well, all I can say is he's absolutely 100% correct.
Perfect. Humble man. I like it.
I'm humble and modest, all wrapped into one, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know
I
what?
get labeled sometimes as, okay, Mr. Perfect, okay, Mr. Right. You know, I tell my wife, I said, you know, if you married Mr. Right, that makes you Mrs. Right.
There you go. Hey, you know what though? Confidence is a key thing, especially if we want to be successful fathers, business owners, people in this world is, you know what? I think confidence is important for us men.
It is.
You know,
Absolutely.
and sometimes we, you know, like even you and I are kind of bantering about, joking about it, but it is almost a lost thing, you know, because people just take it as, oh, you don't be cocky or don't be this. But I am a man, and I want to be confident in that because I'm here to serve my family, and I got to know who I am.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you're absolutely correct. And, you know, confidence, the world will follow confidence. Children will follow confidence. Money will follow confidence. Okay. Success will follow confidence. So yeah, I'm a little cocky and I get called on it way too much.
Yeah, but I could tell from it comes from a pure heart. And so that's the difference, you know,
It
is
is,
it's
it is
coming.
different. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And because it's your why behind what you want to do with that confidence. And even in your laughter and the way you kind of mention your wife and your family, you know that the why behind it isn't just because you want more money for selfish reasons, right? It comes from a confidence because you know the power you have as a father and leader, which is why I'm excited to talk to you, because I can already tell it's going to be
Yeah.
good.
Well, you know, I want to mention something there real quick because people
Yeah.
talk about money like it's a bad thing. You know,
Mm,
I saw something on TV the other day, and of course, it's the old line. You know, I've been poor, I've been rich, I'd rather be rich. You know, but I teach people the more money we make, the more people we can help. And that starts with family right at home. And I'm doing some just incredible things right now. I'm not rich. I really am not. I don't have $1 million in the bank. I have several $1 million worth of assets, but I don't have $1 million in the bank. But I put money back into people because I think that's where
mm.
it belongs.
You know what? I love that. And, you know, I've grown a ton over the last year of doing the conversations with fathers. Okay. So I'm going to learn from you right now. And the hope is that that whoever's going to listen to this will too. But I'll admit to you, you know, that that's really important for me to hear. Because this last year, I think I've really been shaking that view that, the importance of money being a tool and that it's not bad. And so I'll tell you, that's something that I'm shaking. And I think growing up in the church for some reason, I had this sense that, you know, the rich are bad. And I'm not saying all church says that, but the rich are bad, or, you know, it's something about that though. So it's interesting and good for me to hear
Well,
that coming from you.
I had to create that saying because I mean, I work with so many people. I coach coaches in multiple industries. I've coached business owners and helped them reach $1 million businesses. And one of the things that I saw over and over again was as soon as they would hit a certain level, they would falter.
Mm,
And what I heard them say was, well, I have enough money. No, you don't. Well, yeah, I do. I have enough money for myself. And I'm going, well, that's pretty damn selfish, you know,
mm,
because this isn't about you. This is about who you serve. And
that's good.
money is just a tool. If I see a hitchhiker, I can stop and give somebody a ride, right? I can't do that if I don't have a car. you know, uh, I, I have donated more money to charity than the average person, and I'm not 100,000 donator, but I have donated a lot of money to charities. But you couldn't do that if you didn't have it. You can't help people with stuff if you don't have. By the way, my wife. I just want you to know this, and I'm like very conservative. My wife is very conscientious. Okay,
Mm.
and that's a nice way of saying a lot of things. Okay,
Yeah.
and she struggled. She struggled tremendously with us having money, and so and people would say you're rich, and I'd go, well, yeah, we are, and she just like cringe. And so
Mm,
I learned to rephrase things, which is one of the things Thomas, of course, teaches a lot. I said I started saying it's nice to have resources. It's nice to
yep.
have resources because we can do so much when we have those sort of things.
It's so funny you say it. It's just so timely is up on my whiteboard right here. I have resources and I have listed underneath, what are your resources to be aware of? It's money, time, energy.
Yep.
There's these resources. And really with our kids right now, we're working on stewardship, as we're talking with them
Ah,
about not leaving their stuff around. And if you want, we are blessed. So are you taking care of what you do have? Yeah. So
because if
that's
you
something
don't,
that's
you're
been a
not
big
getting
word.
more. Yeah,
Yeah, you're not getting more, and then you're not valuing what you do have. There's so much there to it. So,
yeah.
well, I'm eager to talk with you. So, to give people a little bit better understanding, I'm going to ask you a couple questions, if you don't mind.
Fire
One,
away.
how old are you?
I am 60 years old.
60 years old. Congratulations. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And how many children do you have?
I have four amazing children, and this is going to freak you out. It freaks most people out, probably not you, but they're all 5 years apart. Okay.
Oh, interesting.
So our oldest is 40, then 35, then 30, and then 25.
Wow,
And that was done on purpose.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then you have some grandkids now too, don't
Yeah.
you?
I have three grandkids. In fact, um, our last pregnancy with our youngest daughter Elizabeth was life threatening for my wife, and so I
Mm,
said, "That's it. We're not
yeah.
doing anymore." I wasn't going to put her through that again, and so now we have three grandkids, and they're almost like 5 years apart. So we have
Okay.
a 15-year-old grandson, and we have a 10-year-old grandson, and we have like an 8-year-old grandson, and our
Man,
8-year-old has autism, unfortunately. So
okay.
yeah,
So I mean, you right now are in a season where you have every season of life, you are a father figure to, which
I
is
worked very hard at that.
pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. So the wisdom that we're going to talk about today is going to be fantastic. Okay. And how many years have you been married?
42. I got married when I was 18.
And how old was your wife? Maybe you
18.
can't give that away.
18. She was 18 as well. And but here's the thing is, I looked so young back then. They would come up to her and said, "Did his parents have to sign for him?"
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Man, 42 years. Congratulations. That
Yeah,
is
and
incredible.
one of my goals is to celebrate my 75th anniversary, with my amazing wife.
Yeah, I mean that is that is incredible. I went to a man's memorial on Saturday. He's where I bought my Christmas tree from the last few years, and it's a family friend that I know. He was 94, and they had been married 70 years. And man, when his wife, because I just celebrated my 16th wedding anniversary, and we think we've been married forever, and how much we laugh. We look back to when we got married. I was 21, and we go, we were kids. We didn't know anything,
Yeah.
and then now we think, okay, well, when we've been married 42 years, we'll probably look back on being married 16 and go, we were such kids
Oh,
back
yeah. No,
then.
you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, so thank you for that, because I think that is the best gift you can give the world, is that. As you have been a father in so many different stages, What have been a couple of resources that have been good for you?
All right, so I'm the king of resources. I could show you
Okay.
4 rooms that are just books, like solid. Okay, um, and uh, and in fact, I sat down both my oldest son and my oldest son-in-law and shared one of the resources. And I'm an avid note taker as well. So there's 2 resources that I just absolutely love. One was Brian Tracy. And I listened to a lot of Brian Tracy CDs when I was growing up. And one of his was How to Raise Happy, Self Confident Children. It was
Mm.
like one of the best I'd ever done. And it's still out there, still available. You can still go buy it online. And he has 4 children as well,
Okay.
and so it was good. And he talked about a lot of different things. And then the other resource that I loved, and that I went through piece by piece by piece, was the 7 Secrets of Effective Fathers by Ken Canfield,
Okay.
PhD. Okay, and just so you can see it, I know your audience can't see it, but this is the notebook where, and you can't really see it very well, but I took pages of notes, and
Wow.
this is so old, the paper's yellowing, and then when I passed it on to my oldest son and my oldest son-in-law, I made copies. I bought them both the book, the CDs, and gave them my notes, and then I sat down with them and talked about the different parts of that with them.
Wow. Talk about creating legacy. That's incredible. When did you go through that? When you first knew you were going to be a
Oh
father
gosh,
or
10 years ago. Well, that's one of the things I wish I had done better, was date stuff. I date stuff
Mm,
now,
yeah.
but I don't know when I took these. Oh, wait a second, I have something here in the book that has a date on it. 94, 1994.
94.
Yeah. So
Wow, how
there's
incredible.
yeah, there's some notes here from a church sermon that are in here with it. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Well, I mean, how powerful to be able to sit down with your sons and be able to share that with them. Now, did you share that with them when they found out they were going to be fathers, or when they got married, or
When they got married.
when they got married? Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Man,
and
how
I told them, I said, "You're
powerful.
not gonna understand this information yet, but I want you to understand that there is information out there, and you're not winging it, you know? You need to know that you're not winging it, that there's information out there that tells you, shares with you how other successful fathers have raised kids."
Mm. Man, I'll tell you, that is so powerful because we have so many jokes around how the mother does so much to like have a kid, and then the dad is just, he does his 30 seconds and then he goes to work. I mean, that's the where we go. But that
My
that
kids wish I had done just 30 seconds.
when you've invited them in and really created almost a rite of passage to pass something down, I think is just incredible. And I think that's really what we long for. So cool, fantastic resources. Thank you. I think you're already kind of sharing it, but in just a couple of minutes, what do you think the role of the father is?
Well, mine goes all the way back to biblical. Okay.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think our role as a father, and it gets mentioned actually in the 7 Secrets of Effective Fathers, is that our children see God through us.
Hmm.
And the stronger we are as a father, the more they're willing to believe that God is there as well. And we're very, very, very faith driven around here. And I don't believe that anything really happens by accident. And so part of my job is to be a good father so that they can see how that's possible.
Yeah.
And our job is to help guide them, help give them confidence, to empower them. I mean, all of those things that you hear everybody say, and you could have a list of 20 things there, of what a father is, and so there's a lot of fun stuff that goes along with that. But our number one job is to set a good role model for them to be a good parent when it comes their turn.
Mm, yeah, yes, it's so important for people to realize that it's the way that you parent your kid is going to be passed down to how your grandkids are
Four
raised. And you
generations deep
predict
is what they say.
4 generations deep.
Yep, that's
Wow.
what the Bible says.
Yeah, you think about that. I mean, that means that your words and your actions and mine impact beyond our own lifetime.
Yep.
And what I really like to point out too, which I've been saying is that it doesn't just matter about what Ned does. It also matters what Mike does, because my kid could marry your grandkid,
Hell yeah.
right? And that means something. So it can't just be just internally focused, just my home. I have to be out in the community with other men, making sure there's like-minded men who are raising their kids, because if I want my generation, 4 generations from now, to be impacted in a positive way, it's not just what I do, it's what you do. So I love that. Awesome. Okay, so the podcast is called Rebel and Create Fatherhood Field Notes, and we're already doing the Fatherhood Field Notes pieces. You have years of wisdom, and you're open. I mean, literally, you just showed me your notes from '94, right? So you're
Right.
showing me your field notes and sharing your wisdom with us. And the theme or the mantra is Rebel and Create. And I wrote a book and put it out last year called Rebel and Create, and it could be a global thing or a small thing. So let me give you an example. Is on a big scale, I could be rebelling against the status quo of what media says a man and a husband and a father looks like, so that I can create a stable, safe home that lasts for generations. Or it can be I'm rebelling against being on my phone at 6 o'clock, so that I can create family meal time where we have real conversation. So whether it be something small or something big, what's something that you're rebelling against, and what do you hope to create out of that?
Uh, I believe that the world has been trying to redefine fatherhood.
Mm,
Okay. And in the book, actually, one of the things he talks about was, in the old days, kids used to be able to watch their dad work,
right.
and, on the farm or whatever, construction, they grew up next to him working. But nowadays he goes off, he earns a paycheck, he comes home. Um, and I'm gonna be just a little bit negative for a second. And I tell my kids this because I want them to understand why I do what I do in so many ways. But I believe the world is currently being redesigned to tear families apart,
Mm,
and to make men weak, to make women obsolete almost as a mother, and I mean, take kids and take them off to college, and that's all great. Kids should go to college. All four of my kids have graduated college. And however, is that they send them far away to college and they don't come back. Okay. And so now the family is spread out across the world. And the world is designed currently to create what I call indentured servitude. Okay, or indentured servants, So you have a wonderful picture of a boat up there. I love that picture of a boat.
mm,
In the old days, if you wanted to come to the new world, then you would basically, I thought I turned that puppy off. And if you wanted to come to the new world, you could get free passage on a boat, but you would owe 7 years of labor to someone who paid for your ticket. Well, the world's not satisfied with 7 years anymore. They want you for life. So
mm.
whether it's credit cards or whether it's school debt, none of my kids have school debt,
Wow,
and
that's
they all
awesome.
paid for their own colleges. Okay, um, but the world is just out to destroy families right now. And I will have to tell you, I have been told I'm crazy. A rebel is a great word for this because when you hear some of the things that I do, you would just be shocked. And I will give you one example. Parents ask their kids what they want way too much.
Mm,
Just, I
wow,
mean,
yes.
you know, um, and uh, um, and so I would say, "Hey, I'm going to Home Depot. Come on, let's go for a ride." And they go, "I don't want to." And I said, "I apologize, but where in there did I ask you if you wanted to?" you know,
Yeah.
and they're going, "I don't have a choice." Did I make it sound like you had a choice? you know. But today's society, oh, that is just blasphemy. You've
Mm,
got to ask a child, does he want to go see a movie or not? Are you kidding? You're going to go see this movie with me. But I don't want to go see, Mary Poppins or whatever. I don't care if you want to see it or not. And then we're going to talk about it afterwards, Um,
I love
so
it.
I that's part of the power of that. With that said, I saw a great video the other day. There's this gentleman doing some TikTok stuff, and he was talking about how you don't lead your kids, that your kids don't follow you. You lead your kids from behind. And
Hmm.
he said, when you can lead them from behind, he said, you protect their back. You protect this side, you protect that side, and you can see where they're going. And if they're headed for danger, you can just push them a little bit so that they go, a different direction. And I thought, wow, that is just so, so true. But I mean, he's there with his son. He's got his back. He's working with him in different things. So for instance, all of my kids went to a local college, University of Texas of Arlington. I'm very proud of it. I went there. My wife went there. I had one son go to University of Texas of Dallas. Okay, so he's the black sheep of the family, you know. But I always told him, I said, you can live here as long as you want, and as long as you're going to school. That includes college, as long as you have a job, and I'll give you one if you need one. Okay,
Hmm.
and as long as you go to church on Sunday with us, and those are my three requirements. So
Pretty
I had
simple.
some simple rules, but it meant that all of my kids went here locally. One, they paid for their own college, so I wasn't paying for some outrageously expensive college. I used that money for other things, like every 5 years taking everybody as a family to Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
you know, so we did it that way. But my rebellion is that the world is tearing the family apart, and I'm redesigning everything in my life to pull the family together. You know, and that that and I'm hoping more people will get that and see it and be able to do it.
Well, this is so I mean, I'm writing down my notes. I'm a note taker too. I love it. Redesigning everything to bring the family together.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you share. I mean, obviously, you're doing it because you believe that you have the ability as this father role to create this family legacy, right? Which is what we're talking about here, and that you have the power to do that. But it definitely doesn't come from this dictatorship. I mean, just the way that you carry yourself and talk. I mean, you just seem like your kids want to be around you, right?
Well,
You
we make
seem
it so they want to be around us. All right.
okay. So talk to me about that. How do you make it so your kids want to be around you? I mean, obviously you had some simple rules. You've given them opportunity. You said yeah, so give me a couple, talk to me more about that.
All right. So this started years and years ago, and uh, one of the things that I looked around was I said, "What?" Look. The kids on the block go to one house almost predominantly, right?
Yep.
And I said, I want the kids to come to our house. I want to know who our kids are hanging out with. That way I can protect them a little bit. Okay. I want to know what they see, what they're hearing. And so I created, and this was back in 80s, I created what I call the swimming pool theory. Okay.
Okay.
Where did the kids go? They go to the house that's got the swimming pool. Okay. And so I put in a 14-foot above ground swimming pool in my first house, and I got to know all my kids' friends and see them, and they would have so much fun, and it was incredible. Now you see this room behind me. I know your guests can't see it, but maybe you can describe it to them.
Yeah, I
So
see
this
some Star
room,
Wars posters and stuff in there.
yeah, this is my computer room. Okay,
Okay.
there are six computers here, all linked together. And this, when I moved out of that house, I was shifting jobs. I was doing some other things. I couldn't afford another swimming pool, and so I said, "Well, what would be like that?" And so I put in six computers, and so all of my kids and all of their friends could come over and play computer games together. Okay. And I bought the best computers I could get. It wasn't anywhere near as expensive as that. So we
Yeah.
now have this room. We used the formal dining room for years, and my wife hated it. But because when you walked into the house, that was the first thing you saw, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but that was my swimming pool theory, and I got to know all the kids that way. Plus, I play games with them too. Swimming pool, I play in the swimming pool with them. Now,
Yeah.
I do have a nice swimming pool now. And I told my wife, and this is so much fun because I just sold one of my businesses and I have a little extra time on my hands. I still have three businesses. Um, and And so I told her I'm refeathering our nest. And so we put a swimming pool in, I don't know, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, something like that. But now I put up a gazebo. Now I put up a couple pergolas. Now we have a great big table out there. So just last week, I had three of my kids, and I would have had all four of them, but I had three of my kids, and we were in the swimming pool together watching. We watched Hamilton, and then we watched Greatest Show Ever. Okay, so we kind of like musicals, and so
Yeah.
we've taught our kids that. But this is, but when you have this, you get to pull your kids in. Now it's now pulling my grandkids in. My grandkids want to come over to my house because I have a swimming pool. So I get to know them. I get to talk with them. I get to, give them little snippets of life and everything. Um, and I will tell you, when I built this room, everybody went, "Wow, that's great. You're crazy." you know, Nobody's going to want to do that. Do you have any idea how many times I've been told nobody's going to want to do that? Can I share the biggest one that I'm doing right now that's just
Yeah,
absolutely
please.
completely nuts? So I've got my house, right? And we live in a subdivision. So I got my house. And I told my wife, probably, I don't know, 10 years ago, I was going to create what's now being called Crow Village.
Okay.
And I told her, I said, I'm going to buy the house on this side, I'm going to buy the house on this side, and I'm going to buy the three houses behind us. And she said, why would you do that? And I said, because that way our kids can live next door to us. Well, our kids aren't going to want to live next door to us. So anyway, my daughter now lives in one house catty corner to us behind us, and my daughter now is getting ready to move into the house next to us with my two grandsons, by the way. And she's going, I can't believe that. She's going, well, what are we going to do for the house for the sons? And I'm going, slow down. This costs money.
Yeah.
So I have three of the six houses now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love what you are saying. I mean, because you're talking about things that are possible, right? So you're talking about you want to change the world, right? We could all sit here and say, yes, the world is against family and fatherhood is not seen how it should be. But what am I going to do about it? Well, I'm going to get a pool I can afford for now. Well, I can't afford that now. So what are kids into? They're into games. I'm going to go ahead and get a game room. These are things that are possible, right? It's not, we got to start this big nonprofit organization. I mean, those things are great. I'm all for those things, but you have the power, regardless of your time or your resources, like whatever resources you have, you can figure it out. How do you become that house that the neighbor kids come to, even if it's just playing capture the flag or football or whatever it is. So I have a couple questions for you. One, why do you care to not just build the pool and then just sit on the side and go, I feel good. The kids are all here. There's something in you that you go out and you participate to some extent. Why is that?
Yeah, we have a water volleyball net. I mean, and I'm damn good at it. But for instance, my oldest grandson the other day, me and him on a team together, right? And we were playing two of the ladies, my wife and one of my daughters, and they said they're going to kick our butt, and they got close, but not close enough.
Yeah.
So I built a moment with him, and he'll never
Yes.
forget that moment.
Right.
And and he did a pretty good job, and he held his own weight, and that was me and him side by side. And I cannot emphasize enough, side by side instead of across the table, in a confrontation thing. Because if I can help him and get him to know me there where we're having fun, then he'll be willing to listen to me when it's not so much fun. And so, by the way, sometimes I do sit on the side of the pool in a chair and drink a glass of tea or something and watch it. And I don't know. When you moved into your first house, I moved into my first house. It was a 2-bedroom frame house. I sat in the living room and I looked at the ceiling and went, oh my gosh, I have a home now. Wow. Sorry. Uh, and the same thing is happening sometimes when I see my kids and grandkids all together.
Yeah.
I have a family. And I have to give my dad lots of credit. My dad was always big on family, and so he helped me make a transition from his family All families, by the way, are dysfunctional. Anybody tells you families are, oh, my family was dysfunctional, trust me, all families are
Yeah.
dysfunctional. You look up family in the dictionary, it should say a dysfunctional group of people trying to put up with each other, you know? So, um, but I have to give my dad a lot of credit. He really built how important family was into me. I've just taken it two or three more notches, and I'm blessed to still have him around. So
Absolutely.
we love having four generations of pictures. So we went to the state fair with me and him and kids and grandkids sometimes, and so that's a lot of fun too.
That's incredible. Now, did you say that your dad didn't come from a good family?
No, he struggled a lot. I mean, he still carries a lot of pain, a lot of scars from that. And by the way, I carry a lot of pain, a lot of scars from my dad's uh, uh, inability to raise children. And I say that, but I want to put it this way: he did the best he could, and he was improving on where he came from.
Yeah. Yeah. And then look at what it's turned into,
Yeah,
right? The work
and
that he did
yep.
has developed into this. So what is it that has made you care so much about fatherhood? Now, I do know at the beginning you said, being a faith-based person, that you do find that it's part of your duty, to represent your creator through your role as a father. But was there a moment or a time or a season that kind of set you up to go, this family thing is critical, and I need to
Um,
take this really serious?
and again, it goes back to my dad.
Mm.
And my dad used to take us camping as a family. My dad used to take the baseball out. We'd play baseball at the park. And my dad struggles with a lot of stuff even today. You know, and I try not to focus on that. I try to focus on what he is accomplishing, what he has accomplished. And I will tell you that when I was a kid, my wife and I joked that at 10, everything happened to me at age 10. Okay. Don't ever forget how important age 10 is. Okay.
Okay.
By the way, we'll talk about 15 at some point because you're not there yet. 15 is like the roughest year ever for kids.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Yeah. Just thought I'd clue you in there since you've got one that's 14 now. Um, but ever since I was a kid, I wanted to make sure I saw so many families that would argue and fight and belittle each other. So these computer games here, all right, we don't allow the kids or us to play against each other. All of the games are cooperative games. Okay. So there's a game that our kids love. It's called StarCraft, if you haven't heard of it. Okay.
Okay.
And you play either humans or there's two different types of aliens. And we gang up and beat the computers. Okay. And I have allowed my grandson to start playing me one on one because I can handle it. And he was beating the snot out of me. I beat him last time, but and it was pure luck as far as I'm concerned. But we built that in so that they learn to work together, not work against each other. And people think it's great that their kids compete against each other, and I think it's great when the kids learn how to help each other. I mean, we got one over here, and he's like 7, right? And the aliens are attacking him, and everybody goes to his rescue. What does that tell him? You
Yeah.
know, and what
Yeah,
does
that's
it
pretty
teach the
powerful.
other kids? You know, and it teaches him. By the way, okay, he died. Now you're next. You know, but if you helped him, now he can help you.
Yeah.
And the one of the greatest things that I enjoy is watching my kids help each other nowadays. And I mean, they all go to support each other in miraculous ways compared to today's world.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful because you do see so many families just spread out. So the legacy that you're building is that family is more than just this time before you're 18 and then you're gone.
Yeah,
You've
I mean,
taken it
just
that.
for an example, look at my sisters. I've got one in Georgia, I've got one in Lubbock, and I got one somewhere else in another part of Texas, and I see them maybe twice a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad when I think about my kids, how much they play and enjoy being together, going into a time where they don't see each other very often.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the world is always going to supply challenges like that, Our job as a parent, as a father, is to help give them the ability to pull together and support each other. So this whole Disney thing, and by the way, I'm a huge Disney fan. So, but
I love Disneyland.
every 5 years, I would basically pay for us to go to Disney, the whole family. But I mean, it is a group effort. It is different planning and different putting the pieces together uh, it's not a challenge. It's not people working against each other. It's people pulling together. The
Yeah.
family pulling together.
Yeah,
It's
to
a
go
sport
create
team.
memory together.
Yeah.
So I have another question I want to ask you. Um, Shift gears slightly. Is Thomas had mentioned that you have a lot of your family working together and that you have found success in that. A lot of times you hear family shouldn't work together. But I mean, you're already talking about it, even the video game example. But it sounds like in your businesses, you have or have at times had family members working together. How have you created success around that?
Um, Carefully. uh, you know, I, you know, it's kind of funny. Sometimes people tell my kids, "Golly, I wish I was one of the family," and they say, "Be careful what you ask for." You
Yeah.
haven't seen the true beast. And I'm going to tell you another secret here. People tell people that when you have family in business, when you have your kids in business, that you treat them just like every other employee, and it's one of the biggest lies out there. There's no way you treat your son, your daughter, the same as every other employee. Now, does that make them weak? Maybe. Does it make them feel entitled? Probably. On the other hand, they will do things that no employee would ever do in most cases.
Mm.
Okay. My kids and I have stayed up till 2 or 3 a.m. working on a project, getting it turned out, whereas I would never ask an employee to do that. And so there's a lot of things there. So I tell people that you have to teach your kids certain skills. And one of the number one skills you have to teach your kids is to be able to sell. And almost no kids learn how to sell in today's society. So I taught my oldest daughter how to sell Girl Scout cookies. I literally took her from door to door. I showed her how to sell a lot quickly. Okay. And so, hey, we put a wagon together and we went out to the soccer fields and we just like sold everything, you know. I taught my son how to sell. So we have a sales position in our company. We do not call it a sales position. Okay. And every one of my kids have gone through that position at my company and
What do you
learned
call that position?
client coordinator. So we hire wonderful, amazing people that are not salespeople, and we never call them salespeople, but they have a kill ratio. What does that tell you? you know,
Yeah.
they are expected to schedule 7 out of 10 people that call. And if they don't schedule 7 out of 10, they need retraining, or maybe they're in the wrong seat. Okay. And that happens. But every one of my kids has learned how to sell and close 9 out of 10. Okay. And my oldest daughter, she is now working with one of the companies that I sold. So she's helping them with a 3-year transition. She cannot wait to get back to work with us. And because she's trying to help them understand what we did and how we did it and what we did. And they're going, yeah, that sounds good. I don't think we're going to do it that way. you know? And she's going, oh my God, they won't even listen. And so, for instance, they went, yeah, we don't think you should have a kill ratio on this position. Excuse me? Then how are you going to measure their success? Well, what does that mean?
Yeah, you don't eat if you don't kill.
Oh,
Uh,
but see, that's what I tell everybody. If you don't know how to kill, you don't know how to bring food home and put it on the table. You're not going to eat very well.
yeah. So skills. Okay, so I want to hear a couple more, but I want to know first, why is it important for your kids to know how to sell?
Well, I mean, everything we do in life involves sales. Okay, either one, and I'll give you the most important one. What is the most important sale they ever have to make?
Their spouse?
Well, that would be a good one. But honestly, it's themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, they've got to learn how to sell themselves on the fact that they can do it. They're good enough. That
Yeah.
they're capable, and it goes back to the word confidence that we joked around
Yeah.
so much. When we first got started,
Yes, it
and if they,
does.
think about this, if they're able to get on the phone and sit for 8 hours, and breaks and lunches and all that included,
Right.
and but they're scheduling 7, 8, 9 out of 10. Okay, they walk away with such a level of confidence and an ability knowing that they can go do that. My son actually, and I taught him a few scripts, but he literally created a club at his high school to watch cartoons. Okay. And he sold that to the student teachers or whatever. I don't remember who, but he had to take it to the teachers and present it and say, "Hey, we want to start this club." So it was
Yeah.
called an anime club. All right. And he called it International Cultural whatever, but it was watching cartoons after school, you know,
Yeah.
uh, you know, and my youngest son called me not too long ago. This is one of those calls that you love getting as a parent. He said,
Mhm.
"Dad, I just want to tell you thank you." He said, "I did." He said, "I just had an interview and I crushed it." And
Yes.
they asked me, "What did I do for work in the past? And what's one success I've had? And what's one of this? And what?" And he's going, "Man, I had all the answers." So sales is it may be the number one skill every person needs, that the world is trying to tell you that salespeople are bad. You know, salespeople are pushy. They're needy. They're greedy. And the truth is, man, I love Zig Ziglar, and nobody knows who Zig Ziglar is anymore. I'm 60, so I knew him. I knew him,
Oh, wow, that's
and I
great.
know his son Tom Ziglar and his daughters, and at one point I was even Ziglar certified. So but I mean, he said nothing happens until something gets sold. You know, and so
Yeah.
yeah. And I just talked to we have a home inspection company. That's our core business, and we have
Right.
anywhere from 12 to 18 inspectors, depending on when you ask us, okay? Because life has been pretty brutal on people right now. Um, and I told him the other day, I said, "You guys may be the best inspectors in the world, but nothing happens unless those ladies in there schedule it. So you should treat them like gold." Okay. And I have to tell you, those ladies, they're not cocky, but they're very confident in what they do.
Yeah.
So sales, number one skill.
Number one
And
is sales.
and nobody teaches their kids that anymore, right? Oh, you don't want to be a salesperson. That's what they tell their kids nowadays. So the world is literally robbing people of some of the most basic skill sets that you need to succeed.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I'm in sales. I've been in sales since I was 20. And so little opposite conversations happening in our home around the opportunity that you have in this kind of position. So if you were to say one or two more skills that you think is important for a father to teach their kids, what would you say?
Oh, you're going to love this one. By age 12, all of my kids have to read a book and have to give a 30-minute presentation to the family. So
30-minute presentation.
public
Yeah.
speaking is one of the number one skills, one of the top skills that all of my kids have to do. So they have to. One of my daughter read a book. The oldest daughter read a book called John T. Malloy, and how to um how to work your competition into the ground and have fun doing it. Okay. And so, but it was talking about life skills. It was talking about,
Yeah.
organizing and organizing your time and everything. So that's what she did. One of my kids did a different one. And by the time I got to the last one, I was being too lenient. And I let her do it on a movie that she had watched, that she had to do a report on to school. It was the one where the Pie and I, or something like that. It's the kid that got on a boat with a tiger, from a ship or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah, yeah. Life of Pi.
Yeah, Life of Pi.
Okay.
So she had to do her 30-minute presentation on that.
Okay, well that was a very interesting movie.
Yes, it
So,
was.
okay, I want to point something out right now because if I'm a dad listening to this and maybe I'm not, as engaged as I would like to be, or that's why I'm listening to this podcast because I want to be engaged. And if the very first thought came into your mind when you said my 12-year-old read a book and did a 30-minute presentation and you thought, my kid would never do that. I want to have you rewind back to the beginning of this conversation, where we heard Mike say, "Oh, did you think this was a question? Did you think you had an option here?" But I also want to point out, because this is something that I struggle with, is finding that balance of not just going to like very strict, stern dad. It doesn't have to come from that stance. It can still come from a laugh and a chuckle and a, well, I didn't, it wasn't an option, so go do it, right?
Right.
But it doesn't have to come from um this mean dictatorship. But I want you to know, if you're a dad listening, you have the authority. You're the only one really who's been given the authority, right? It's not their teachers, it's not their principal, it's not
Right.
their youth pastor, whatever it is that who's in their life. You're numero uno. And if you think public speaking is important, or sales, or whatever it is that you think is important, teach that to your kids, and just make that a something you do with your family. So yes, very good. Very good. Sales, public speaking, anything else to throw out there? I know we're going to start wrapping this up in a
You
little
know,
bit.
there's so many other skills, but one of the big things is that I want them to make decisions. And so you have to set it up so that they are making some decisions, and they're going to fail at it, but they're going to learn from that
Right.
failure.
Right.
And way too many people protect their kids from failing. And and I probably, if you talked about another gentleman, if there was one thing I might do, it might be let my kids fail more. And I'm not sure about that. Okay. I talked to a famous gentleman. He was a famous bowler, believe it or not. He was a famous bowler. Okay. So you go bowling. We would take the kids bowling. And this one gentleman, he said, I remember, I remember my dad teaching me how to bowl. And he said, and I never remember putting a ball in the gutter, because they would put those gutter
The
blocks
guards up.
up,
Yeah.
and so the kid never remembers putting a ball in the gutter. And so I debate on this. Should I have let my kids fail more? Maybe, but decision making, that's a big part of it. I want my kids to be confident. I want them to see, and when they could do sales, that builds confidence. When they could do public speaking, they could do confidence. By the way, all of my kids have done public speaking at one point or another, in
Wow.
somewhere. And it's like, what? It's the number two largest fear, they say.
Yeah.
And my kids look at them like, "What do you mean?" Yeah, uh, and so many kids go, "Well, I would never do that." Um, and it's watching my kids raise their kids too. We took my oldest grandson. We went ziplining. We went to Tennessee for a. I had a Disney cruise planned in June, my friend, and they canceled it on me.
Oh,
Okay, they canceled it on me. I had a week in front and a week in back at Walt Disney World with house. So we don't stay on site at Disney. We rent a big house where
nice.
all of us stay together. So that probably tells you a little bit about who we are. But um, my oldest son was like scared to death to zip line. And I watched my oldest daughter, and I participated, but I watched her explain to him, you have to do this. And I told him, I said, buddy, you don't have to do this. However, if you don't do it, you and I are going to sit home every day and work on stuff, and everybody else is going to go have fun. They're going to go do everything else, but you and I, we're going to stay home every. And he's going, "You're not serious, are you?" Serious as a heart attack, guy. Because if you're afraid of this, then you and I need to spend more time together.
Hmm.
So the threat of granddad, and
Yeah.
he looked at me like three or four times. You didn't really mean that, do you? Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, yeah, I mean, and here's a line that I love to ask my kids, and I wrote this down. And every parent needs to sit on the side of the bed with their kids at some point and ask their kids this: is there ever a time that I told you something that I haven't done or haven't lived up to? And by the way, I did that when I learned it. Every one of my kids had one thing.
Wow.
Okay,
Yes.
and when I figured out what it was, I fixed all of them. But
Yeah.
I want my kids. I want to be able to say to my kids, "Have I ever told you one time that this was going to happen and it didn't?" Okay. Or that I would do this and I did. And I want to make sure they know I'm like what the Rock of Gibraltar, right? The tooth of time, as we like to say in Boy Scouts. But um, and I told him, and he looked at me, and he looked at me very seriously. You and I said, have I ever told you one thing that I haven't done? And you could see his eyes click, and you know what? At the end of the day, he was so proud of himself for
Yes.
doing the ziplining thing. But you
Yes.
got to build confidence. You got to build confidence, and it was a tough half hour convincing that kid to zipline.
Yeah, it's something. So I have four daughters and a son, and it's been interesting learning to build confidence in my son. He's 11 now. So it's been interesting to find the balance of when to push him and when not to.
Yep.
Because I noticed a time where I pushed him a little too hard and he wasn't ready for it.
God, it
And
feels
and I
bad, doesn't it?
yeah, it feels bad. And luckily I caught it, I think, in time to where I didn't just totally emasculate, him. But it's funny now. So like I was celebrating him the other day in front of the family because we built a dirt bike track on the property. And I remember a time a couple years ago, he was so scared of the 50 dirt bike. I knew he could do it, but he was so scared that I said, okay, every lap you do on the driveway, I'll give you a quarter. And so he on the 16th lap, I said, okay, you're done. You get off now. Cause he would have gone all day long. He would have gone all day long. But now he's out there with his friend right now as we speak. And he's on a bike that he can't even put his feet on the ground. He has to start it on a kickstand because it's too big for him. And he is riding lap after lap out in the dirt, hitting jumps, and he's 11. And I was celebrating the other day, so as a dad, there is that balance too, to figure out, to be in tune with your son and your grandson, to go, how can I push? Where can I push? Where are they ready? And it's just so rich to see, like you said,
Yeah.
you're probably being on there with him. You are building that confidence. It's such an amazing opportunity, more valuable than a golf game or a business we build or whatever it might be. Not that those things are bad, but they can't replace the fulfillment you and I were
Right.
designed for.
Don't miss something you said here. And one speaker that I work with, and I've worked with so many speakers and so many coaches, and I've had so many coaches, and I run masterminds for the last 30 years,
Mm.
pulling people together and teaching stuff. But one phrase that came out years ago was ethical bribe. Okay. And you made your son an ethical bribe. And I
Yes.
have used that so many times on grandkids. And all of us have, but some people won't take it and some people tell you it's bad. Oh, don't give your kids money for grades. That's their job. They should do that. Yeah, maybe, maybe not. Okay. But I told him, I said, if you do this, I will give you so much money on top of that. That was one of the things that got included. And then at the next stop, I told him, I said, for every person that you go in front of, because I wanted him to get that second one just as quickly. Every person you
Yeah.
go in front of, you get an extra dollar. Okay. And so roller coasters are my thing that I try to help my kids use to get over fear. And everybody has to get over a roller coaster fear at some point. And how
Mm.
many people do you know that go, man, I don't ride roller coasters. I'm scared of roller coasters. And I'm thinking, golly, what happened to you? And by the way, I've got some family. I'm probably going to take a bite on that one. Some people that married into the family, but I tell them, I say, hey, you do this. You get to go pick out the T-shirt you want to say you rode this.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah,
Ethical
because
bribes.
yeah, ethical bribes. I like it. I'm gonna keep that. Oh, Mike, this has just been fantastic. I absolutely love talking fatherhood with you. And I love the passion in your voice, in your eyes, in your, the words you're using. And I need mentors like you in my life to have these conversations to go, man, this matters. So I just thank you for sharing your life with us. So that we could all learn and grow. And my last question for you, and I think you've answered it so well already, but as you peer into, you're 60 now, and say in the next 20 years you start to peer, let's use your grandkids, and you start to see the families that they're building. What's the legacy you want to see? We're not talking money, we're talking the character, the relationships. What is it when you peer into their homes, when you probably actually will be able to peer in their homes because they'll live across the street from you? What is it that you what is
We're
it that
putting
you
up
want to
ring
see?
devices so we can see where they're home.
Yeah, in the Crow Village.
Yes.
What is it that you'll see?
You know, it was kind of funny because Crow Village is 6 houses, right? Mine and 2 on side of mine and the 3. And I told my
Yeah,
youngest daughter the other day, and as we bought this house, we just bought it last week, and she's moving in this week. Okay. Um,
fun.
and I told her, I said, when you look back and when you're talking with your kids and your grandkids, so this is the part of the secret, is you have to give people vision. You have to give your kids vision. Okay. I said, you're going to be able to say, your silly old granddad, okay, or your silly old great granddad is the one that started this. Okay. And so I'm now giving her the scripts of what she'll tell those people, and those kids and everything. And I do a couple of weird things. I have a family meeting, where we bring all the family together. We discuss jobs, we discuss money, we discuss, everything. And so we do that. And by the way, ethical bribe. I pay them to come to that meeting. Okay, $500 a family. Okay, and
Is that
and
once a
people go.
year?
Well, we usually do it a couple of times a year, but a couple of my kids ran into some real problems this last year. I have two kids that are getting ready to go through a divorce.
Hmm.
Okay, if you go back and you ask yourself if there was something else I could have done. I did such a great job with my kids in a lot of ways, but what I didn't truly prepare them for was how other people in the world think. And so uh, they
Mm,
they um, they married some incredibly amazing, wonderful people that have some that are carrying some baggage that they can't let go of. And they brought it into the marriage, and it destroyed the marriage. And so there's that things as well. So the biggest thing that I'm trying to do is to help give my kids the vision of what this will look like. And by the way, um, and I'm now having to deal with two of my kids that are going through divorces, and it's just heartbreaking, heart wrenching watching your kids go through that kind of pain. Um, and I told my daughter the other day, I said, I want you to understand, he's getting part of your past. He got part of your past,
yeah.
but he doesn't own any of your future.
Wow, that's really powerful.
And I've watched an immediate difference since she's what we say. This is why Thomas and I love each other so much. What we say is so important. The words that we plant, the words that we put into place to help people get to where they want to be. I will tell you, you have to create those moments, though.
Yes.
One of the things that every book says is, the best thing a dad can do is love the children's mother. Okay, and so I have date night set up with my wife, but I also have family night set up with the kids. Now, we don't do it anymore, but we used to do Wednesday nights, we used to do with the kids. And we'd
Yeah.
start with the youngest one would choose, then the next one up, the next one up, the next one up, then mama would choose, and then I would choose. And if we couldn't remember whose turn it was to choose, well, we'd start over with the youngest. You'd be surprised how many times it never got to me. Um, and can I tell you a dirty secret?
I love the secrets.
So I sat my kids down after one point and I said, do you have friends that their parents are divorced? You could just see them go white. And are you and mom getting a divorce? No, I never said that.
Uh,
I'm just trying to see if you see that. And they went, well, yeah. And I said, you don't want me and mom to get divorced, right? They went, no. And I said, so I need your help. I said, I want to take your mother out once a week for a date night.
mm,
However, if I say, hey, kids, me and mom are going out for a date night, and you all go, oh, can we come? Well, the answer has to be yes, because we would never want to leave you behind. And it would hurt your mom if we left you behind. So you have to be able to say, no, we want you guys to have that time together. And it got to a point where if we hadn't gone on a date night for 2 or 3 weeks, the kids would start going, hey, you guys when are you doing a date night again? So
yes.
Wednesday nights we did family night. So the kids were taken care of and they knew that was their time. And then Thursday night was date night for me and my wife.
I love it. It's
And
super,
we're married
super
42
good.
years. And I
Yeah,
don't know how she
42
put up
years.
with me, honestly, but I do work at it.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
got me all emotional,
Clearly.
guy.
Hey, this is it's so encouraging. It's so good. Yes, I mean, it's just so powerful. I'm I'm so encouraged and excited just about everybody who's going to listen to this conversation. Um,
You'll have to tell them there's the dirty secret at the end of it, so they'll listen to the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, here's the last thing that I'll say is I appreciate you sharing the honest, vulnerable pieces too, because like you said in the middle of our conversation, every family's dysfunctional or is messy. I like to use
Yeah.
the word messy. It's messy. And I think sometimes we can hear your enthusiasm and the things you've done and feel like there's something about you that there's just no way I could be like that. And our family has so many issues or whatever, but it doesn't change that you have a passion to fight for your role, even when it's really hard, right? Even when it's messy. And that is the role of the man, the husband, the father, like you said, lead from behind, pay attention to what's going on, be in tune with it. You got to work on yourself too, which clearly
Right.
you have
All the
said
time.
you've done, right? It's never over, but you have that opportunity to be a part of the navigation of your family, and it is going to be messy and it is going to be hard and it's not always going to go how you think it's going to go, but it doesn't change the fact that the work you put in will be rewarding.
Yeah. And don't expect the mom to be the dad. Too
Mm,
much nowadays. People are expecting, and one of the books that called it father substitute. And we talked about TV and public school and government and their boyfriend or whoever being their father figure. But the world is trying. So my wife gets mad at me for this. So just so you know, but I believe that at a certain point you have to man up. You have to make the decision, even if she doesn't agree.
mm.
And everybody in the world tells you now you can't do that. You have to ask your wife. You have to get her input. And I think that is so unfair to my wife
Wow,
to
I
ask
love putting
her
it that way.
to ask her to make this decision for me. Okay? And why would you put your wife, the person that you love and care more about in this entire world, in the position of managing your life or telling you what's right or wrong? Now, I take her input all the time, but then I make a decision. So I had a job for 13 years, I was in the grocery business. And I told my wife one day I quit. She went, Can we talk about this? It's a little late. I already quit." What are you going to do? I'm going to go work with my dad. We're creating a company out. Oh my God. What about our medical benefits? What about this? What about the 401k? I said, I know. I said, it's a shame. She said, well, don't you think you should have asked me first? And I said, that would have been so unfair to you to ask you if I could quit my job. Because no matter what you said, it would have been it would have been unfair. Okay. Now maybe you would have said, I'm 100% behind you and I agree with you and you do what's best. But the world doesn't do that. The world reacts in fear. Okay. And men need to learn to be men again. Okay. They need to learn to set up date night. They need to learn to make decisions. They need to learn and quit saying, can I go home and ask my wife? Oh my goodness. Are you kidding me? That is so unfair for her to not know all of this, but you go home and say, honey, I'd like to invest in this. Honey, I'd like to do this. I've come home sometimes and invested $40,000 in something. And she's like, what the hell? you know? Uh, and we've been married 42 years. And we had this conversation last week. Okay. Honey, have I ever let you down? Never had a car repossessed, never filed bankruptcy, never missed a mortgage payment. I think I deserve a little credit for, making decent decisions. Now, I'm not saying had I gone bankrupt, had I done this, had I done that, that my decisions would be bad now either. And I will tell you, I feel sorry for women sometimes that marry men that just fail over and over and over. And those guys need to get around some people that are successful. I created a
Mm.
thing, be successful and be around those that are successful. I mean, you hang around weak people. I used to hang around a group of gentlemen at church, and every Saturday we'd get together for breakfast. And one came home one day and said, I'm not doing that anymore. My wife said, but everybody says you should do that. I said, yeah, but all they do is whine and complain about their wives. And
Mm.
I'm just not going to sit there and be part of that. I love you. I care about you. And I'm not going to allow a group of guys to make me want to sit there and complain and whine about you, you know? And by the way, I whine and complain about my wife publicly enough, since I don't have to do it at breakfast table, you know? Uh, so those are a couple of things that I want to make sure that people see the world is being designed right now to tear the family apart. The world is
Yeah.
designed to tear men out of manhood, okay, out of fatherhood, and it's why so many men abandon their children. And I think we're coming back around. And one of the things that I told my kids was, I want to make sure you get to know your grandparents. You know, in today's world, nobody knows I didn't get to know my grandparents. I really did, and I wish I had.
Wow.
And I made sure my kids do. And they're flawed. Oh my God, they're flawed. Okay. But I get to talk to him about it and go, so you don't want to be like that, right? Maybe you should listen a little closer. you know? But you know what? I'm flawed too. And it's funny because I see my kids pointing at me sometimes going, you don't want to be like that, right? Maybe you should listen a little closer.
Oh, Mike, you have no idea. This has been the best conversation and the best moment of my week. I just so needed this conversation, and it is going to impact my life and future generations forever. Literally, this conversation, the man you are, the husband you are, the friend you are, the willingness you have to share the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it, your wisdom, the secrets. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep investing in the world the way that you are. And I can't thank you enough for all that you have said and all that you've shared with me. I have grown so much today, and I'm excited for others who have grown too.
I was so excited when your team reached out to me to do this, because I am helping build the next generation now. So I have maybe one of the youngest CEOs working for me. She's 30 years old, and she is doing training for young athletes now. And I'm her mentor in that regards, and I'm watching what she's doing. And I never forget that what we do now affects the next generation, and it's important that we get it right.
Yeah. Yes. Well, Mike, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I look forward to hopefully hearing more of your wisdom over the years.
Man, I look forward to it, and I look forward to the day we get to meet in person, Ned.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Have a great one.
You too. Wow, wow, wow. Incredible. Such powerful stuff. If you enjoyed this conversation, please write a review on iTunes. Like I said, I would like to hit 100 podcast reviews in the next 100 days. That means I need you right now to go ahead and write a review. This will help me and the cause of fatherhood tremendously. Every Monday, I put out the Fatherhood Field Notes podcast, interviewing great dads. If you are interested in a shorter podcast, I put one out every Friday. It falls under Rebel and Create as Craft of Fatherhood, where I discuss a question sent to me by a father. Thank you to all you dads out there listening to Rebel and Create's Fatherhood Field Notes podcast. What you do matters. Don't be like everybody else. Be yourself. That is who your kids, spouse, and community needs. This is your guy, Ned Shout. Together, let's rebel against the view that fatherhood has little impact and create lives engaged in mastering the craft of fatherhood. Talk to you next time.